that's how I got here to where I am today. It was a lot of small catalysts that helped push me forward and encourage me to continue on. And it's
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of CFI Spin and Pod podcast. We're doing a member spotlight today, and today I'm joined by Antowan Batts.
hello, nice to see you.
Antowan, where are you joining us from today?
I'm joining you from Norfolk, Virginia. I live here, although I work in Chesapeake, Virginia, which is one city over, because I work for Dollar Tree stores at a corporate office.
I am so excited to have you here today because you're the first person that I'm interviewing who has a background in kind of all the academics that precipitate our designations. So by that I mean a lot of people who are interested in our FMVA have careers in finance and have taken academic pursuits, whether it's undergrad or master's in economics. And you pursued and studied economics. But you are in a logistics role right now, which is very kind of data focused. So I'm so excited to be able to talk to someone that is interested in both data as well as kind of finance as well.
Mhm. Yeah. So like you said, I work in logistics. Currently, I am a system analyst. Originally, when I graduated with my undergrad in economics, I came out and I was a financial analyst in logistics, right? So it was very similar to some of the stuff you would see in corporate finance, but it was from, the logistical standpoint. So I focused on stuff from like outbound, which would be our getting stuff from our DCs to our stores. But I was soon transitioned over to the current system analyst role, and much of that was because I was able to complete the BIDA on your platform.
Oh, nice. So this is where you are kind of now, but let's start from the very beginning because you have you pursued a lot of academics. So I want to kind of understand that, and then how you started in your first role, and how you've kind of gone from financial accounting or being a financial analyst to where you are today. So like, take us through what's your origin story? Like, how did it all get started? Was it right from like your early days in undergrad that you knew you wanted to pursue what you are doing today?
No, not at all, actually. My origin story is completely weird. If you ever see my resume, it'd be one of the strangest you've ever seen in your life. So out of high school, I took up a trade. I actually went through an apprenticeship and became an electrician. I worked on naval vessels for 7 years, or 6.5 years, and I worked at Norfolk Naval Shipyard. It's over in Portsmouth, Virginia, and it's a government-ran shipyard. And I went through their apprenticeship, graduated, and like once I graduated, I stayed on for like another 3 to 4 years, and after that, I finally left the company, left the organization. Ironically enough, back then I actually wanted to be an electrical engineer. Yeah, I know, shocker. But after that, yeah, so but after that, I made a next big leap and I went into healthcare because I wanted to save the world, right? Everyone has that point in which they want to save the world, but I wanted to do it via healthcare. I ended up working for a local hospital. It's our biggest hospital in the city, Norfolk General, and I worked there for a year as a medical assistant. It just so happened that year was 2020.
Oh my God. And I think we all know what happened in 2020.
Yeah.
Unforgettable.
Yes. So it was a lot of work and stress, and eventually I was like, okay, maybe healthcare is not for me. And at the
Healthcare is
same
not for
time,
faint of heart. Like it's a crazy field.
it was a lot. It was a lot, and I know it's better today because, like, the pandemic's over, but at the time it was just a lot. So I mean, but during my time there, I also got an IT job at the university I was attending, and as soon as I left there, I had a very strong quantitative background at the time because I was like, this was actually before I went directly into economics, but I did have like a strong background from my prior experience, things being an electrician and other things that I had done. And I was able to eventually get a research assistant job at my university. They have a research lab. It's called Virginia Modeling and Simulation Science Center. It's VMASC, and it's a sub branch of Old Dominion University, which is the university I attended for undergrad. And I was actually studying like vaccine hesitancy there. Yes. Uh, and so I was studying what are called vulnerability indexes. And so those are things that are like like that, those are things that affect like underrepresented people in a society. And so like how does access to like a working car and all these other things such as like childcare, how does that affect people's ability and willingness to go get the vaccine? And so I did that along with the IT for about a year and a half, almost 2 years while I was finishing up my my bachelor's degree in economics. Just so happened during that time frame, I also signed up for the internship at Dollar Tree, and it was a little weird because I was like 28 going into an internship, but it was also because I still had to get in somewhere, right? And so once I got into the internship, I let those two jobs go. I was pretty confident in my skills and ability to find a full time position, and I let those two jobs go. Went into the internship, and luckily, as soon as the internship ended, I was actually hired on, and my role as the logistics analyst for the financial team for Dollar Tree. I was actually the company's first intern they ever hired. So
Oh my gosh.
yeah. So I think after like a year and a half as a financial analyst, like during that time, I took the BIDA, and then we had an open role because our sub department was expanding, and we had this open role for the system analyst come available, and I applied and was able to secure this position where I am currently.
And so, like, to take it all the way back to the very beginning, to finish like an apprenticeship and do a trade job, like
Yeah.
that takes a lot of dedication and a lot of like that's like a fairly kind of intensive and rigorous program. But
hmm
being becoming out like a full-fledged electrician, how would you say that there's things that you learned from that part of your life that you still find yourself kind of um, using the skills you developed then today?
Oh yeah, I think the most important skills I developed were probably in the shipyard so far. Like doing that, it was the time management, working under pressure because and then like since I worked on very expensive equipment, right? You have to have that sort of like ease of hand and confidence in yourself in order to do that type of work, right? And it was a very rewarding career. And it's ironic. People keep asking, why did you leave? And so on. Like, it's not a, I left, I left. Yes. Like I did enjoy my trade. It's just something was always like calling me in like academia. It was fundamentally it was economics because I always loved economics, even back when I was an engineering student. And like I just felt, yes, I do love what I do as an electrician. However, I feel like there could be something better. But I do credit a lot of the very important skills I have with my time at Norfolk Naval Shipyard.
So, when did you get your first interest in economics?
So I'm very curious about it too because my best friend, ironically, he was one of my we first met when he was one of my instructors at my community college that I was going to while I was an electrician. And he said, I don't know how, but like you've always been interested in economics, even when you was an engineering student and he was taking my environmental class. And I was like, yeah, but I don't know where it came from. It just started in like around like 2013, 2014, and it just blossomed and kept persisting.
Was there like a specific topic though? Was it like micro or like was it macro or was there
I
anything that you can kind of recall that sparked your interest? Because for me,
it
economics, like I wasn't, so I'm from a business major background for undergrad, and I didn't really even, like, I couldn't even verbalize the fact that I had an interest in economics
mhm.
until I took an economics course. And when I
I-
took it, I was like, okay, I think I
mhm,
prefer the macro stuff. But yeah, it wasn't like it wasn't as if I were in high school thinking, would it be great
mhm,
to know about, y equals c plus I plus g plus all those equations
mhm.
from back then.
No, I think it's like there was a book of because I think that makes sense where it started around that time because I had not a coworker but I had a classmate. He gave me a book. I forgot the title. The author's name is Hazlitt, and he was an American journalist that wrote about economics. And so it's very ironic because I think the last time I reread his book, I was like, I disagree with you on a lot of these things, but but I think that was the guiding spark that got me interested in it. Now, and it so like for me, it was always weird because like I cared more about macro than I did micro. which is, I guess, sort of ironic because most of the stuff I work in is always like sort of micro related. But then again, if you think about it, national defense and naval vessels is macro related. So maybe that's where the other connective tissue is. But I think that book is what was the sparking catalyst.
And then you probably worked off a lot of Paul Krugman books, right? Paul
Yeah,
Krugman. He's
no,
everywhere in economics.
yeah, I actually, yeah, I really love his international economics textbook. I think it's probably the best econ textbook I've read.
And you didn't stop there. You did further educational pursuits, right?
Yeah. So I think about 3 weeks ago, on November 1st, I was conferred my MBA and my Master's of Business Administration.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
thank you. Yeah, I completed at Southern New Hampshire University. I really enjoyed my time with that university, and I did it mainly because like I really like online schooling, and I know a lot of people prefer the traditional in front of someone. Even when I was in undergrad, I would actually prefer online schooling. It was more of my thing because I had to when I was an electrician when I was doing my associates. I had to go to like evening school or it was online school. So I always preferred something where I could just reliably do it from home and not have to do like go at the extra miles just to go to a place to sit there for 2 hours or 2.5 hours. So yeah, I have a preference for online schooling. But yeah, I completed my MBA recently.
Sweet. And now with the MBA, um,
Hmm.
did you do it with any kind of very specific pursuit in mind? Because for me, I know that so the MBA path, at least when I was at my first job, which was in investment banking, everybody had this. It's kind of like package A, B, or C, like a holiday package, where you would say like, okay, for package A, you do an undergraduate business degree, you get yourself a role in investment banking, you do it for a year because nobody wants to do it for any longer. And then after that, you go into either private equity or maybe try to go to the buy side, and then after maybe like 5 years or so you try and do an MBA, because at that point you start questioning your life and all the decisions you've made, and
Hmm.
you need this one card to say, okay, I was in business school for 2 years, so I'm going to use that as my point to reset. I'm going to go and look at all these different types of career opportunities, and then no one could question my resume at that point because I'm in school, and then kind of use that as a card to say, like, I want to do something different. Did you have any of that kind of intention with your MBA, or is it just something that you wanted to pursue because you had the academic interest? And then has it opened up any doors to kind of like new career paths, or yeah, like that's a very loaded question, but basically, did you have any intentions with the MBA going in? And um, yeah.
Yeah, so no, it's aspects of both sides of that, right? So my undergrad in economics is like it was under our School of Business, right? So there it was like it was a BSBA with a major in economics. However, when and I discovered really quickly after I graduated from undergrad, when you tell people I have an econ degree, you get typically three answers. What's econ? Because there's a lot of people surprisingly that don't know what econ is for the short that like short thing like short nomenclature. Oh, what do you want to do with that? Because they're not exactly sure what the skills are that you develop in an economics degree, and then like, oh, that's nice, but like, but why are you here? Type of thing. Like, how did you get here? It's like, and again, that's tied with the second one because they don't really know what the sort of skills you develop in an economics degree. So a large part of me was originally I had signed up for masters in economics, but after like some thinking and deeper research, even on the American Economic Association, they say if you're considering becoming a business professional, it may be wiser to get an MBA because you'll better deepen your knowledge in operational standpoints and like day-to-day business operations. And I agreed. Like after I had enough of those interactions, I was like, I'm gonna do the practical thing instead of stacking econ on top of econ. I went for the MBA and it was very rewarding because like it definitely deepened my knowledge for business, day-to-day business operations. And yeah, I mean it's definitely opened more opportunities and stuff. So ever since I've graduated, I've been meeting with like leadership within my company, and they were like, "Hey, you're perfect for this role now because now you have the data quantitative side, but you also have the financial and operations understanding of it too." And so there's definitely new possibilities. I haven't fully like decided what I'm going to do yet because it's sort of still fresh off the heel. But yeah, it's already open doors, and like it was also because I also do have a love of learning, right? So it's the same reason I stay consistently like subscribe to y'all platform because y'all make continuously make great content that's very useful in my day to day working life. So it was like that those two aspects mixed together is why I did the MBA.
I love hearing that. So take me through like the journey that you've had with Dollar Tree so far. Has it been 2, 3 years?
It's coming up on 3 years. It's been 2.5. It'll be 3 years in May.
So what's it been like from when you started to where you are now? Because I know you've had a couple of different roles, but you
Mhm.
strike me as the type of person where as soon as you're like on the team, people get to know you. You're super friendly. You're clearly very hardworking. And so I'd be curious to know whether the roles that you've been through have been ones that you've said like, oh, I'm really interested in this and like put your hand up for, or people have said like, I bet you'd be really good at this.
Yeah, so it's been really interesting because it's like I started when I was an intern. I started in the merchandising department, and I got the logistics right. Very weird, right? But
That's a big, it's so different. So like take us through like how did you start in merchandising? What was it like? And then
Mhm.
all the transition points in between to where you're in logistics today.
Yeah, so I started in merchandising because with my so again, I was the first intern hired by the company, but we was also the first intern cohort too. So they were sort of filling it out too, trying to figure out how to best place people. And with my degree and skill focus, they thought I would be better served in merchandising than anywhere else, right? And it was really great and rewarding. Everyone there is really, it's like our merchandising team is a fantastic group of people. They're very intuitive, they're very knowledgeable, and they're excellent teachers. And I learned so much in just that temporary 10-week period. That was very pivotal for my success with the company that's still going on to this day. And
What was a day in the life of merchandising like?
so it's really interesting. A lot of meetings.
Oh my gosh, one of those roles where it's like professional meeting attender.
Yeah, so we got to meet a lot of the different people. So like the different roles, they're very so there's of course we met like everyone from like inventory type control things. We met like the beginning people, like what we call a merchandise assistant, and they help with like the data entry and like tracking for all of the stuff that our merchants or our buyers will be doing. So our buyers are like the main people that find our merchandise that we stock in our stores. And found Dollar Tree also owns Family Dollar. There's like the whole two different like aspects of it. Dollar Tree is more seasonal type stuff. So it's like the sort of thrill of the hunt. You'll go look for different items that you may not expect to find
I
in other
love that
stores
phrase,
there.
the thrill of the hunt.
Yes, that's like
I've
one of
never met
my
a
best
person
phrases.
that uses that phrase
Mhm.
other than me, but I love using it.
Yes. And then there's Family Dollar, which serves like your more core everyday type stuff. And
So for
so
the people that aren't familiar, that aren't basically us, tell us how big Dollar Tree and the family company is and how many kind of like states they serve.
Mhm. So yeah, Dollar Tree Family Dollar, we have roughly 16. It's 16,000 plus. I can't remember the exact number. It's around 16,700 some stores, and we're in almost every state, of course, except for like the two discontinuous ones. So we're not in Alaska or Hawaii, for good reasons. The logistics would be a nightmare.
The logistics to Hawaii is always a nightmare, so always an additional cost.
Yeah, and actually, believe it or not, I heard there was a statistic when I was an intern. They would explain like we have so many stores in different locations that I think it's roughly 93% of the U.S. population is within like 1 to 5 miles of one of our locations.
Oh my God. Oh, I would love to understand how they got to that statistic. That'd be so fun.
Yeah, I know. But it's interesting because like you see a map of like all our different locations from both banners. It's like I believe it.
And like, I wonder if like I'm gonna see if when we edit this, we could put a little the Dollar Tree logo here because I'm pretty certain that as soon as you see the logo, everyone who's listening will recognize it, even if you're not based in the U.S. I'm based in Canada, and I immediately recognized it.
Yes, because we do have some Canadian stores, and we actually, in fact, we're doing rather well. I think there may be plans to grow our Canadian footprint too. So
I'm pretty sure I live within 1 mile of one.
yeah, but yeah. So I mean, yeah, merchandising was really fun. It was a lot of like understanding the different aspects of it. So like it's sort of the sales part of our company, right? But it's not like sales in the traditional manner because like our sales come through from the like the fact of like finding items that everyone needs or wants and then making sure that they're in stock, right? So you don't really have like a direct interaction with the customer per se. The interaction is done through the actual sales numbers and so on. So you see how much throughput or how much sell through you have of specific items, and so you know it's doing well. And if there's other items that may not do well, you just like swap them out for something different and all that other stuff. So like you learn a lot of different forms of like communicating with consumers, but in a less direct fashion, right? It's something that a lot of people may not be used to because it's like you when you go in a store, you don't really think me picking up this item is telling the company that I enjoy it specifically, right? And but like that's sort of what you're telling them in many ways, or like you deciding not to go for a specific item is like showing that hey, this thing is not the best substitute or complement for any sort of thing that you have here, so maybe you shouldn't carry it.
Yeah,
And
and it's like it's funny to kind of think about the fact that what you buy or what you don't buy as a consumer is just like your constant dialogue with the retailer or manufacturer saying this is good, you need to do more of this, or this is not good, you need to stop doing this.
yes, exactly.
Did you
And
find that
yeah,
that role was kind of so was merchandising a little bit of a research kind of role? Was it on the merchandising team to understand like um, seasonality of products, what was in demand, what was kind of selling very well, or was that a different part of the team?
so there's a different part of the team that does that. So there's different sub teams within each within merchandising, and there's like technically different categories, and each category have like a team of different people in specific roles. So like category may have like allocation specialists and like maybe someone that does like demand forecasting for specific items and stuff. And that team will make up along with like a merchant, that team will make up a category per se, right? And so like different parts of the role has some aspects of that research where you'll do like you'll look through the data and you'll see, okay, this is not doing well, this is probably not going to do well. Hey, we should reconsider this. And they always come together as a team to discuss it. They have reviews and they'll be like, okay, what's doing great? What do we need to keep? Where can we expand? And what needs to go? And I think those sort of critical questions is what helps make the company really successful. And there's been a lot of like there's a lot of innovation down in merchandise as much as there is anywhere within the company. So but yeah, my start off was in merchandise, and I think it was very useful because like you meet a lot of people, right? It's like since that's sort of like I said, our core business is selling merchandise, right? So they interact with pretty much everyone within the company, and so you'll meet people from all throughout the company. And I think that networking played a very important part for me, helping me get into my logistics analyst role.
And then so the merchandising was it only a 10-week type of role? You said,
Yeah, yeah, it was an
and then so
internship.
after 10 weeks, where did you go next?
So that's when, so literally the internship ended on a Friday, and that Monday I started as a financial analyst within our logistics department. And like I said, I work in outbound, and so what that means is we deal with everything that goes from our distribution centers. Distribution centers, for anyone that don't know, it's like a warehouse, but it's not. Warehouses are for like long term storage and typically larger amounts. Distribution centers are for short term storage, and you typically get your stuff there and you ship it out soon after. But outbound is anything from your distro center to like your stores. And that's where I started off in our financial department. And so like that included a lot of things for like KPIs, tracking like our run rates and all the different KPIs and finances for different carriers, but also going back and forth with carriers and ensuring that they are getting invoiced properly, making sure that there's no discrepancies or anything, on any of the financial reports before we send them payment.
And then how long was this one? Was this role more than 10 weeks?
Yeah, this one was a year. This one, I think I was there for like a year and 3 months. And that was like, yeah, that was when I actually swapped over to the current job, which is like ironic because it's on the same sub department. I only really just moved teams. I even kept the same desk. Yeah. And so it's very connected with my original first role because now like I'm a system analyst, but I'm on the backside of the billing department. So or like our financial department. So all our systems where they query data from or do any sort of like financial auditing and everything, I'm there to help troubleshoot and make sure it's running day to day. And I actually have a coworker. He and I actually got together last year and we had to redesign our whole sort of invoicing system and invoice tracking system. And it was a very interesting project because like it took a lot of work trying to figure out how to collect all the data we want and where to store it too. So we had to get together with a lot. We had to get together with the IT team, get like a whole new server space like allocated and everything. So it was a really fun project because it's like I had to stretch my skills a lot. I got really good at VBA, like VBA for Excel,
Oh my
something a lot of
God, that
people.
was my perfect nightmare back in the day. Apparently now ChatGPT is very robust at helping with that. But I just remember in like 2013 when I was in capital markets being like, oh God, like this is so painful. Anything like database, when you say database, it's like very triggering for me. I remember from my asset management days being like, oh my gosh, select star from, and like that's where I would stop.
Yes, no, I understand, but it's really interesting because it's like again, all of that stuff was like it seems like you said like alien territory sometime. But like the reason I was able to transition so easily was partially because I did the BIDA with y'all,
I was
and
gonna ask, like, how did you get, like, how did it come to you? Because those skills, at least for me, I didn't learn them in undergrad. I could have taken a computer science course, and I honestly probably dropped in for like 2 days, and I was like, nah, I don't want to take this. This is like not for me. I deeply regret that today. But to learn VBA and like database querying and all that stuff, did you do that all on the go, or did you learn any of it in academics, or did you already have like an interest, like a personal hobby that you pursued, or were you just learning this on the go? Like it was really on the go training.
it's a combination of all of them. So fun fact: at one point I was like a CS student back in
Oh my
college.
gosh, what were you not?
I know, right? But no, it was yeah. So yeah, when I was working at the hospital, like when I decided like healthcare wasn't it, I was still in school and I had to keep making progress. So I was like, I guess I'll try CS, and I was a CS student for like 2 semesters. I left because I did not want to be a developer, and that seemed like the main like option, and it wasn't, but like it just seemed like the main option at the time, and I was like, I'm good. I do not find coding that interesting. I am out.
Oh, I just
But
love though that you had the confidence to be like, yeah, like this is not necessarily my cup of tea. I've learned a lot, but I'm moving on from this.
yeah, and it's so ironic because a large part of our econ degree they teach you R as a development package for like doing statistical work in our econ. So it's really weird because I had that CS semester, and the first language they teach you is like C++ and C, which are two of the hardest and oldest languages to learn.
I had to learn
And,
C# and it was not
uh,
fun.
exactly.
It was
And
my
so,
first programming, my first and last programming
mhm.
language.
No, that's understandable. And so when it went to, oh, now I got to learn R, it was nothing compared to like learning C++ just from like, out of nowhere, which was my first language, right?
Yeah,
And
like
so
Python is so much more intuitive, right?
yeah, definitely more than C. I actually still prefer, at least for data stuff, I prefer R over Python. I know I probably just started like a spike, like a like a comment war possibly, but like there's like a lot of people that's like if you say that they're like you're insane. You're
Yeah, my husband's a firmware developer, so he does like the low level programming, and so I want to say C, C#, or and maybe C plus are what he mainly works in. He told me, and
Mhm.
obviously I've forgotten. But a lot of those C languages are very difficult to learn, but they're super useful today.
Yeah, yeah, especially C. C is like the underlying one for like a lot of software. But yeah, so like luckily I was able like I got a lot of it through like academia and like doing a course through like I learned a lot more R and as a research assistant at VMAS where I was studying like I said the vaccine hesitancy. That's also where I learned Tableau. So like that's why like I started picking up there. It was like a lot of stuff on the go and it was a lot of stuff I had to learn really quick because like there was like I had a high demand for it at the time because yeah, we had to do reports for our grants and everything when I was a research assistant. I'm like, okay, I need this. I need to figure out how to make it look like this and so on and so forth. And then, like you said, it was before ChatGPT. Luckily, ChatGPT came out when we was revamping our our
Just
invoicing
in the
system.
nick of time.
Yes, which is why learning VBA was easier. But it was so interesting because it's just like C++ to me. Like there's a lot of similar aspects for it. And so it wasn't too hard for me. It was it was an interesting thing. I feel like everything was timed perfectly, even though like at certain things didn't follow through. Those choices came back as like an advantageous thing for me in the long run. So like I didn't do CS, but learning C++ was very advantageous. Like it had a great advantage for like learning R, and then I used R and Python and like stuff today. And so yeah, all those things kept coming back to assist me in my growth.
And then with the accounting role, did you also develop a pretty strong like financial accounting acumen as well? And you probably did you develop any previous knowledge in your like academic studies? Because financial accounting is pretty rigorous, I find.
Yeah, so I did. And another part of it was also like I didn't mention it, but like when I was also a college student, I used to volunteer as an accountant with a nonprofit that was local, and they're called the Up Center. And so like I was able to like I actually had a stronger like accounting background, partially because like my econ degree was a business administration, like business, a bachelor's of science. So like you do have like the core classes you have to take, and you had to take I think up through like intermediate accounting one in order to complete that degree. And like along with volunteering, my time at with the Up Center was like a great advantage when it came to going to the financial
I
role.
don't get how you find the time to do all this. Like I feel like you've lived two like multiple lives.
I know, right? my I think my supply chain teacher used to say it best. She was like, "I know you like to keep busy." And so, like, here's like she would always start off whenever I asked for advice. She'd say, "I know you like to keep busy. Here's my recommendation."
And then was keeping busy what got you into from financial accounting that role to where you are today?
Yeah, because I always wanted to. Yeah, because I've always wanted to sort of like bridge the finance and like data stuff. So, and that's when
Because then that
this
would be like a
like,
marriage of all your other things that you've done in the past, right?
mhm.
Where you did like CS and like whatnot, and then all that kind of comes together into the logistics role.
Yeah, exactly, and exactly that's why this is like really like the ideal job because it's like a marriage of like you said of everything that I've been developing over time, and there's always other like opportunities to develop other skills. Like so, I still work with the finance team when like streamlining our budget files and like all of our documentation. How else can like I've we use different systems. I don't know if you know about a software called Alteryx. It's sort of like so yeah, it's like a ETL. So like ETL is extract, transform, and load for like the data terminology. It's like a ETL software. You use it for like pulling data, performing like any sort of you know computations or any math you need, and then you can put it wherever you need. And it's a very intuitive program because it's interesting because it's like
What is it
it
called?
has
ETL?
so ETL is the techniques, but it's the software is called Alteryx.
Hmm. You,
Altrtryx.
I think I've actually seen that logo somewhere.
You
It
probably
kind of, I
have.
can kind of see it.
Yeah. So it's actually very popular. But like it's really useful and it's weird because like it's very intuitive. Like they have little tools that you drag, and those tools are where you like perform specific things. So you'll have a tool where you load your data in. You have a tool where you'll like clean it, and different tools. You'll have like one tool could like I don't know remove sort of like headers. The other one could transpose your data and so on and so
Oh,
forth.
and then you
Right?
get to the blessed data set.
Yes, right. Exactly. And so we use a lot of that in order to like automate a lot of our sort of KPI and P&L type stuff. And we're working on it again for our larger sort of data sets and stuff because it's still sort of a little bit more hands-on as of right now. We started with the smaller accounts, but now we're moving up to the larger ones since we have a little bit more time to work on it. Plus, we're trying to more refine our tracking for the system, like our data. So yeah.
So what's your day to day like in this role? It sounds pretty different from the from like merchandising for sure.
Mm-hmm. So my day to day is very interesting because like part of it's system performance and like troubleshooting for we support me and my coworkers support any other teams that have to use our transportation management system. And so that's like a big software where we do a lot of our logistics works and so on. So whether it be like planning routes and stuff like that. So me and my coworker, we support any sort of issues that may arise in that. And so if there's we get emails, we have like a shared box. We run through like what the issue is, and we'll either resolve it. And then if it's something that's simple and that the person can like do on their own because they have access to specific requirements or permissions, we may offer to train them or send them an SOP on how to do it. And so like there's of course so there's a potential training part for it too. There's like ad hoc reporting. Sometimes people need data from our TMS system or just in general. So we do like offer ad hoc services for mostly anyone that asks, so long as they like actually have a need for the information. And then like a large part of it's also like setting up for a new system, which we're getting eventually, which I'm not really sure how much I can say about, but like, yeah, we're working
Yeah.
on yeah, a new system. And then also, like I said, a large part is also the like sort of innovation and automating part for any sort of stuff we may have. So like any other old workflows or any sort of old systems that may be like cumbersome for everyone to use, we'll try to find a way to make it easier, whether it be just like streamlining it or just trying to use, like I said, outlets or maybe removing hands from the pot, right? Like telling us people like, hey, let's just leave this to these two people because they're the ones that better understand it. Not everyone has to update it anymore, so just forward the information to them.
And now I know you like to keep busy. And so I'm wondering, do you think you have any plans for further academic pursuits in the future? Or like what do you think you have planned for your career in the next like year or 3, 5? I feel like you always have to kind of have something on the go apart from just work.
Mhm. Oh yeah. So yeah. So academic wise, I'm technically already working on like that applied econ masters I told you about at the same university. Yeah, because when I swapped over to MBA, my the econ classes I had already taken counted towards my MBA. So now, like, I'm technically about 50% done already done with my econ masters, and I was like, well, so why not finish it? Like, I get tuition reimbursement and I get a corporate discount because I work for Dollar Tree, so it's an incentive to actually go
Win
finish.
win.
Yeah, exactly. I'm actually close to finishing the FMVA with y'all.
That's
I
a
think.
big one.
Yeah, I'm on the final test. I did the first one and I was close. I was like 6 points off. So I've been studying for like the last month. I think I have 4 days until I can take it again, but I think I'll get
That's
it.
a tough one. That's like a lot of time requirement. That's a lot of dedication.
Yeah, it's the financial modeling questions that keep getting me. I know I'm thinking I'm gonna get it the next time though. It's like like I've been doing really good on the accounting questions and the budgeting stuff. So, but other than that, I'm looking for like volunteering opportunities. I'm talking with I think it's an international organization. Their name is All Fed, or it's the Alliance to Feed the Earth. All Hold on, let me look it up for you. It's called All Fed. It's a great organization. It's a nonprofit, and but I always forget how to say their name because it's a short nomenclature. Okay, so All Fed is Alliance to Feed the Earth in Disasters, and what they do is they study like food resiliency and making sure like what in worst case scenario, let's say nuclear war or something happened in these specific areas, how can we like how would that affect the world's Earth's
Nuclear
like
war,
food
always
supply and
possible.
stuff? Yeah, exactly. So like it's a nonprofit. They do really great research and stuff, and I recently started like working with them on some projects, and it's really fun. And because like a lot of stuff I work on is logistics based, and so it's like, hey, like if this like happened, how are we? And it's like there's like if this happened, how would companies be able to adapt to it? What were some stuff that we learned from how companies adapt during COVID that we could apply to like these sort of events? And then what are recommendations we can make to them to make sure that they better react in time or react better next time too, right?
Wow. So this is a member spotlight, and I can't think of another member that I have interviewed that has such a breadth of knowledge, and the fact that you like just want to volunteer your time, even though it seems like you have so little of it. At the same time, it's just like based on how much you do, it seems just like you would run out of time. But you have had, I feel like just getting to know you like this, people people like you because I think you are hardworking, smart guy, easy to get along with. And so, by virtue of that, you've had lots of really great connections in your career and your academic pursuits that allow you to marry all of those experiences together into something continuous. Um, and with Member Spotlight, I think it's really important because people love to find someone that they can relate to. Um,
Mm-hmm.
if you could give all of our members kind of one piece of advice at any point in their career, what would you say?
Ah, one piece of advice. Hmm.
One piece of advice that you think, like, it would have been really helpful had I heard this maybe, like 6 years ago type thing.
Hmm. Okay, so my advice would be try to be the connection that makes someone's life like make a life changing impact on someone, right? So try to be that person that changed someone's life for the positive, right? So I've always joked I have this theory called small world theory, where you're only ever three people away from meeting someone that could change your life, and I have no empirical basis for it at all. But that's what I just like joke about it every time I find out I know someone through someone else because we have a mutual friend. And I always say, "Oh, small world theory." Yeah, but
Oh, I
I
love
firmly
that.
believe, yeah, I firmly believe that you can be someone's like very impactful or a catalyst for important like a great change in someone's life, and it could be in a small way. It's always sort of, especially like a lot of stuff going on today, it could seem very impossible to make a change in the world, but it's not true. It can be something really small. You'd be surprised how much of a catalyst it will be for making a big difference. And that's how I got here to where I am today. It was a lot of small catalysts that helped push me forward and encourage me to continue on. And it's interesting because like I'm trying to go back now in hindsight and find some of those people. Many of them were teachers, and thank them because without if it wasn't for them, I may have not made it this far.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's such a powerful message, and kind of along the vein of um, be the mentor that
Hmm.
you wish you had, or the one that you already had. And it doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily need to even be a mentorship, but be the positive change that you want to see in the world.
Yeah, yeah, Gandhi, right?
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh, no, oh God, you really know a lot of things. Love it. Okay, that has been the one of the best podcasts. I almost feel like this is one of those who is that guy that does the podcast? It's Jay Shetty.
Mm,
Have you heard of that? Have you heard of him?
I've seen a few. It's interesting because yeah, there was
It's
like
like
kind
very
of big
inspirational, and
podcasts.
I feel like that's what's
Yeah.
been on this podcast. Like, I'm not Jay Shetty, but like, I feel like this has been one of the most like uplifting and like really just inspiring member spotlights.
Oh yeah. No, I've really enjoyed my time with you here.
My gosh. So thank you so much for being on Member Spotlight. I am so excited for this to publish. And I guess until next time, everyone, we'll see you all later.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed the conversation. FinPod is brought to you by Corporate Finance Institute, the #1 rated online provider of finance and banking training, certifications, and productivity tools.